Hello, I'm Steven,
Hello, I'm Rizwan.
and we're Cardboard Coalition. Today, we thought we'd bring you a how to play of Renegade Studios' Raiders of the North Sea. Hope you enjoy. So, we have a game set up right now, so we figured we'd give you guys a quick how to play. So, when you set the game up, you have to put all these pieces out, the gold and the Valkyries and the iron and the cattle, the livestock, right? They're all in a black bag and you kind of shake it up, right? And then you put stuff out. So you'll notice little numbers right here. This will tell you how many items from the bag you take out. So you take them out blindly and you set them down. And you just go and you fill all these up till they're all filled up. Then you go ahead and you set down all the workers. You have gray workers, and it gives you the color to show you exactly where. You got some white workers, right? It gives you the color, kind of shows you where to put them. Down here you have a couple black workers. It tells you how to do that in the book. And then you put down your score markers. We're going to use blue and yellow during our playthrough. So we got a blue and yellow score marker out. You put one on the score track, one on the Valkyrie track, and one down here on the armor track. Then each player, they've already picked their colors, so you give them a boat card, which gives you some information about, let's drop down a little bit so you can see better. Gold equaling victory points, iron equaling victory points, livestock, right? 1 gold, 1 victory, 1 iron, 1 victory. 2 livestock, 1 victory point. That's for end scoring, right? So it also tells you max amount of cards, silver, and provisions that you can have. So you could only have 8 cards in your hand, 8 silver, 8 provision, and the max hired crew you can have on your boat, which is 5. So it gives you all the information you kind of need. So each player's got their boat. Each player starts with a little black meeple, and they start with 2 coins. Each get 2 coins. You deal each player 5 cards, and out of the 5 cards, they end up picking 3 of them, right? We'll just grab these 3 for show and tell right now. And you put the rest back. You shuffle them into the stack, right? Then you set out your chieftain offerings down here. You mix them up. You set them upside down, right? Facing down with the little chieftain facing up. And you set out 3. 1, 2, 3, right? Then you got your coins. You got your provisions. And then you got your extra gold and Valkyrie and iron and livestock and your dice. So now that that's all set up, and each player, once they pick their 3, I'll do it for this one too, pick their 3 cards, we're just going to randomly grab 3 and say, hey, these are the 3 we're going to use. So each player's got their cards ready, and you're ready to start the game. So how this game goes is you place a player, you do that action, you pick up a player, you do that action. So, for example, this player over here might go to the mill and do the action that the mill gives you, and then pick up someone from the treasury and then do the action the treasury gives you. So you place a worker, you pick up a worker. So first let's kind of run through what happens in the village, and then we'll get into how you raid up the coast and in what brings on the end game and scoring and all that. So first off, we come down here, you have the gatehouse. So if you either place down or pick up a worker from the gatehouse, you draw 2 cards, right? And you put them into your hand. If you put down or pick up a worker from the treasury, you get rid of 1 card for 2 silver. These are silver, right? Or you get rid of 2 cards for 1 gold. And you got some gold over here. And if this stuff runs out, right, then you can't do that action. You just can't do that action if there's nothing there to pick up. But as you play through the game, you're going to be spending gold and iron and livestock to do things in the game. So after the treasury, we'll go down here to the armory. And you'll notice something down here at the armory. It shows 2 pictures of meeples, a gray one and a white one. What that means is you cannot put a black one down here. You have to either have a white one, right? Or you have to have a gray one. And we'll talk about how you get up here and start picking up white and gray ones. Spoiler, it's while you raid, you start getting those. So, but if you put one of those two down at the armory, you can either spend 1 iron, so you can spend one of these, 1 iron, and you move up 2 along this armor track, right? And we'll explain how that helps here in a minute. Or you could spend 2 silver or 2 silver, and you can move up 1 on the armor track, right? We talked about the mill. Depends on which worker you set down here. A black worker gives you 1 provision. These are the provisions over here, right? It gives you 1 provision. A gray worker would give you 2 provision. A white worker would give you either 2 provision or 1 gold, right? So you could kind of choose. Then we come up here. I don't believe we did the town hall. The town hall allows you to play an action on your card. So these cards give you some information, right? And down here, see, the iconography is really easy to follow. So it has the town hall symbol. You could play it. It says lose 2 silver to gain 1 gold. So you would either put a meeple down here or pick up one of your Viking meeples and then play this card. And that card would go in the discard pile, which you guys can't see because it's out of camera. But this is takes up some room, as you can tell. But you would play the card and do this action. Then you would get rid of that card. All right. Then you got the barracks. What the barracks allows you to do is to pay the cost in silver. And you see the cost in silver right here. To put a crew member. Well, let's do this one since we can afford them right now. So 2, it takes 2 silver. You would take that 2 silver and you would throw it over there and you would put a crew member down here in your longboat. All right, this counts as your longboat. And if we remember, we can have, I believe it's 5. Let me get out of here. Yep, 5 crew members. So you can have up to 5. And you could always, if you are full, you can get rid of a crew member to place one down. So the barracks allows you to put crew members on your boat. And then you have the silversmith. And this has the same thing as kind of the mill, right? You put down 1 black meeple, you can get 3 silver. If you put down a gray, right, one of these gray ones or one of these white ones, you would get 2 silver. And then the last thing on here is the longhouse. And this is where you kind of give tribute to the chieftain to kind of get his favor, right? And how that works is you have to put down, as you can see, either a gray meeple or a white meeple. You have to put one of those down, and you could choose between these actions. You can spend 1 livestock to get 2 provisions, right? 2 provisions. Or you can pay the cost of these down here, and the name of it's skipping my mind right now, your offerings. Let's just call them offering cards. So this one is 2 iron, and it gives you 4 victory points, right? And that's these points out here on the outside. Or this one has 1 livestock, 1 iron, 1 gold. That'll give you 5 victory points. 2 livestock, 2 gold. That'll give you 6 victory points. And those come into play at the end of the game when you start calculating score, right? So that's your basic village down here. And we'll get into score calculating here in a minute, pretty much at the end. So that's everything you can do down here. Next thing you can do is you can raid. And if you raid, you choose where you're going to go. You, have to make sure you can put a meeple down there. All right, see the different meeples right here? So all these, you could put a black meeple down. The harbor, everywhere in the harbor, you can put down a black meeple or a gray meeple. So you can put down a black one, which you start with, or a gray meeple, which you start with. And once you do that, you put down the meeple, and you also have to have provisions, right? You have to have X amount of things to be able to raid this harbor. Same with this harbor. You see they're different, and then you have this harbor down here. So what this is saying is you have to have 3 provisions. You have to have 3 of these, and you have to have at least 2 crew members on your ship. So if you look down here, I would have to have at least 2 crew members on my ship to be able to raid here. This one, 2 crew members. This one, 3 crew members. So you have to be able to do that. And what you would do, let's say I have the 3 provisions, right? Oh, I grabbed 3 all in that one hand. I would take my 3 provisions. I would pay them. I would show the other players that I have enough crew members, and I would put my meeple down. Doesn't matter which one. It's just letting you know only 1 meeple per circle, right? So you can only raid 3 of these. So we put it down, then you pick which one you want. So, let's say I'm going to take this one. So you would pick up this worker, right? Place some meeple, do what you need to do, placed them. I paid what I need to pay, my 3 provisions. I have the 2 people on my ship. I pick up a worker and I collect up what's there. I do what's in that circle. In this circle, it's you just get stuff. So then that worker comes back to me and I have some provisions to make myself happy. And then it's the next player's turn. Now, if you look up here, you have a little bit more iconography on there. And what that is telling you, I'm just putting these back so we're kind of set up for the playthrough. So up here, what it's telling you is you need 4 provision. You need 3 people, right? So we'd have to have 3 people in our longboat. And this has to do with your military might, which we'll talk about in a second. So you would have to have 3 or 4 provision. You'd have to have 4 of these little provisions. And you'd have to pay those, and you'd have to have at least 3 crew members on your ship, and then you can raid up here. And also, I put them down though, you have to have at least a gray meeple to put down, right? And if you look up here, you have white and gray, and you get up higher, you have white. So you would have to at least have the worker to be able to put it down. You'd have to have the provisions and enough crew members. So once you do that, so for argument's sake, let's say we do have a gray, right? And I put the gray down over here and I pay my 4. Of course, I don't grab 4 in my hand. I pay my 4 provisions. I say, thank you very much. Here's my 4 provisions. Right, I have 3 crew member. And once again, I could put him down in either. It's just saying you could only raid 2 places here. And I choose which one of these I want to raid. I can take this one and get the 3 livestock and a gold. Or I can take this one, 3 livestock, gold, and a gray meeple, gray worker. Or I can do this one with a white meeple or worker, and 2 livestock and a Valkyrie. Now at this point, you might be asking, what does a Valkyrie do? So what a Valkyrie does is if you raid anywhere with a Valkyrie, that's these little black ones, right? What you have to do is sacrifice one of your crew members. And you get to pick which one you get rid of. So you sacrifice that crew member. And over here, if you look at the Valkyrie tracker, you move up. For every Valkyrie or crew member that dies, really, every Valkyrie causes a crew member to die, you move up the track. So if I were to go here where there's 2, right, I'd have to kill 2 crew members. And they'd go to the discard pile. And I would move up 2, 1, 2 on the Valkyrie track if I were to raid this one, right? So that's kind of what Valkyries do. So there are 3 things that cause the end game, right? And what the end game really is you do your countdown at that point. Once a player starts the end game, every other player gets 1 more turn, then you count points. So the 3 ways to start the end game in this is you only have 1 fortress left. If you look up here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If there's only 1 fortress left, end game starts, right? If you run out of offerings to give to the chieftain, end game starts. Or if there are no more Valkyries on the board, right? End game starts. Those are the 3 ways to get the end game to start. I believe I'm glancing really quick. Yep, no Valkyries left. I thought maybe it was 1, but it's no Valkyries left, right? End game starts. So those are the 3 ways to start the end game. 1 fortress left, no Valkyries left, no offerings left. You can't put, when it's time to put an offering down, you can't put an offering down. Now, once that happens, then you start scoring. And the cards for our ships gave us a little bit of the scoring, right? You can see you have 1 gold is 1 victory point, 1 iron, 1 victory point, and the 2 livestock, 1 victory point. So any of the stuff that you have built up, except for the Valkyries, obviously, you count those. You also, when you raid, you move up the track, right? So when you raid, you move up the track. Then you count here. If you see there's these little yellows, armor track has some points for victory. You count those in. And the Valkyries have points for victory. You count those in. So one thing that I kind of forgot to mention, and we'll swoop back around, is when you raid, right, you have these numbers here, and you have these victory points. And as I had said before, everything, you can look at the iconography, and it matches up really well. It's really easy to understand. So if you get an 8 in military might, you get 2 victory points, right? Down here, you don't have that because you only get 1 victory point for raiding a harbor. And then what this means is how many dice you get to roll, right? And I know from your guys' angle, it might look a little weird, but it's a die basically at a kind of an interesting angle, right? Is what it represents. So let's go back and say that I raided right here, right? And I had to have my 3 warriors, right? So what I do is I look at my military strength. And I'm trying to figure out what my military strength is. So this says I get 1 die. When I raid there, I get 1 die. And so I take that die and I roll it. I mean, you could do it the other way too, but you take the die, you roll it. I have a 4. Then I look down at my cards. And if we look at my 3-man crew down here, she offers me a 0, so it's not helping me out very much. 2 and a 3. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I also check, see how it's red too, military might. I check my armor. In my armor, I haven't moved up the armor track. So I have 9. So I look over here, I have 9. That means I get 2 points. So I would move my marker up 2, right? And so when you raid, you get points. In the end game, you count your livestock, you count your iron, you count your gold. You count where you're at on your armor track and where you're at on your victory track, and that will show you where you're at on the board. Now, if you notice, the numbers end at 49. On your ship, you can flip it over to 50. So if you get to 49, you flip the ship over and you get to 50, right? It lets you know that you're at 50, and then you start counting over again. So you go 49, you get another point, you flip this over. Now you know you have 50 points. It says exactly the same stuff on here. And then you start counting from here again, 51, 52, 53, so on and so forth. So that is basically how you play through the game. Put down a worker, pick up a worker, do the actions that you're allowed to do in the area, follow the iconography when you raid, how many supplies you need, how many crew you need, tells you how many points you get, except for up here, right? Different points depending on what your military might is. The stronger you are, the more points you get, moving you up the victory track. And then the end game starts if there's only 1 fortress left. Could be any of them, but just 1 fortress left. You have no Valkyries left. Or you're completely out of offering cards, which means you have an empty space and you need to put an offering card down. And that is basically how you play the game. I know at first run, it sounds like it gets a little complicated, but once you get into the groove of it, it's quite a simple game, especially once you get the iconography down. The board literally tells you what to do. You just got to remember, when you put down your meeple, your little worker, you put him down, you get that action. When you pull up another worker, you get that action. And that is basically how you play Raiders of the North Sea. Resvon, do you have any questions?
I think when we play game, it's going to be easy. No, I don't have any question. Thank you.
All right. So you ready to play the game?
Ale, yes.
All right.